All right, let's start recording. So today's tutorial is on three things. How to do mouse selection in a different way from how Rahul's tutorial does it. Number two, how to do selection circles. So add some decorations to entities so we can tell when things are selected. And number three, how to do a simple UI with some text that tells us how entities are doing. We'll do a few extra things. We'll also learn how to export a Unity package and how to import it. Maybe because you want to import everything into a new project, starting from where you left off on your old project. And we'll also look at downloading and adding entities to our set of entities that we're playing with. So let's start a new project. Let's call it, and we're going to use assignment, my solution to assignment 5, well, assignment 4 as a basis. And we're going to add standard assets because we need water and things like that. And we're going to create this project. It's doing this asset stuff. That'll take a little bit. It just takes a little bit of time. Let's go, let's go, let's go. By the way, I'm using OBS Studio to do this recording. It's really useful and very easy to use once you learn how to use it. Wow, I didn't realize it was this slow. All right, this is good. Let's clear this. The issue is I don't want to start from scratch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open a project. Which project? My old project. And export whatever was in it. In other words, I'm going to export the scene, which is this scene that I created, where if you played it, I was able to have, I was able to do tab selection. The problem with my current solution was that I can't tell who's been selected because we don't have the bounding box that Ogre had. So the first thing I'm going to do, well, I'm going to save, I'm going to export this. So I have it available. And then I'm going to import it so I can start from this point onwards. Make sure you check include dependencies. I'm going to export it, and I'm going to export it on my desktop. I'm going to call it AS4 Unity package. The extension Unity package is registered with the system, and it'll The name of the file will be as4.unity package. I'll export it. Once it's exported, once it's finished exporting, you'll see that it has appeared on my desktop, right? And then what I'm going to do is go back to my new project that I was on, which had nothing, and import it. This thing, open. Yes, import it all. It should overwrite the sample scene well. Yes, I want you to reload the scene. All right, everything is here. If I play it, everything should work, right? Yeah, it's working. Good. I think it's working, so good. So what do I want to do? Well, the first thing is I would like to put selection circles on these guys. So what I'm going to do for both of them is selection circles are only one kind of decoration. So I'm going to create a decorations, a place to store all my decorations. And inside these decorations, I'm going to put a selection circle. So where do I get the selection circle from? Well, if we look on our canvas page, under files, under Unity packages, Brian has made a selection circle. Well, it's a selection cylinder, but it's a very, very thin cylinder, so we'll call it a selection circle. It's on the downloads. Has it finished downloading? I think so. So we'll move this out of the way and we will import it. Assets, import package. It's under downloads today. Let's have it selection cylinder. All right, yes, import everything. And here it is. Okay, so there's a prefab. You can see it looks like a nice circle, even though it's a flattened cylinder. So there we go. For some reason, it's not centered. If I look at it, where is it? Okay, it's somewhere over there. So what I want to do is say 0, 0, 0, and it should be under the DDG. So, all right, where's the DDG? All right, let's make it kind of the same viewpoint, right? All right, much better. So we'll put it like this so that it kind of looks like approximately the same view. Not exactly, but close. Tug DDG, and that's a selection circle that's currently being implemented. So it needs to be bigger. So we'll say this is 160, 160, and there it is, a nice selection circle. It looks a little weird with stuff going on, but that I think is only because it's kind of at water level. We'll raise it a little bit above and everything should become nice and clear. Right? Is this the right size? Yep, actually it could do with a little bit bigger selection circle. Let's make it 170. And that's slightly better. Okay, so that should be good. So this is great, a selection circle. Now I just need to turn it on and off for when that entity is selected. So when I press tab, if that entity is selected, it should turn on. And when I press tab again, some other entity is selected, that entity selection circle should turn on. And by turn on, I mean it should be set active. So how do we do this? Well, first let's make sure that the tugboat also has one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this, right? Control D does it. Then I'm just going to move it to tugboat. There we go. Tugboat also has it. For some reason, what is the location? It's 000, right? So this is duplicated, but it's still at the same location it was before. If I'm over there, it is. Of course, this is not the right size. The tugboat is only about 30 meters. Yeah, that looks much better. Okay, that looks too small. Let's say 40. That looks better. 40. Okay, that doesn't look too bad, right? And of course, we want it to be 1 access. Okay, we got it. And we call it not decorations 1, we'll just call it decorations. Whenever it duplicates and there's a name conflict, it puts the 1 after it. Okay, so now it's 2. All right. Now, what do we want to do? What we want is it to be turned on when the entity is selected and turned off when the entity is not selected. So I'm going to write a little aspect whose job it is to do this, and we'll call it, let's call it Selector. It's a thing that handles selection stuff. All right, edit, and then we edit the script. Okay, and what should it do? Well, it should basically say entity dot, what should it do? If entity dot is selected. Okay, I need an entity. So what it needs to do is, given an entity, and we'll make it public just for debugging purposes, whatever entity I'm attached to, if it is selected, I will set the selection circle to active, and if it's not, I'll set it to inactive. So I need a reference to the selection circle as well, right? And I'm going to set the entity whenever I start up by saying entity equals get component in parent, because my parent game object has several components, entity 381, the oriented physics component, and I'm not sure what other components it currently has, but those two at least. And that's where I will find entity 381. Okay. Then I'm going to say if entity dot is selected, then selection circle dot set active true. If it's not selected, selection circle dot set active false. Right? This should work. Oh, I just don't know how to get to selection circle. I could find a component by name, but that's frowned upon because names can be easily confused. So what I'm going to do is, since it's public, I'm going to, in the Unity editor, I am going to attach the selection cylinder to that. Okay, so that should be good. Does this work? Okay, so it found it and set it. That's really great. And if I press tab, it's selected, so the selection cylinder is on. If it's not selected, it should turn off. So if I go here and press tab, oh, it went off. Went off, went off, went on, went off. This thing stuff is not changing because I haven't attached this script to this game object yet. Okay, so I think this works. All right. So what I need to do then is get out, go to tugboat, add component, what? Selector. Drag this over, and I should be in good shape. Let's see. Okay, it wasn't selected, so it's gone there. it wasn't selected, so it's no longer active. DTG51 is selected, so it's got the selection circle active. Right? If I press tab, all right, this works. Nice. So there we go. Okay, click, 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 tap, 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 tap. It works well. I like it. I just realized something. This is kind of, I could, I don't need to do 4 statements. I could just say selection circle dot set active to whatever the value of entity dot is selected is. Right? If this is true, set active true will execute. If entity dot is selected as false, set active false will execute. So I don't need this. I'm gonna get this. If I'm really paranoid and I want to do a lot of checking, if this returned null, which it can, if it cannot find the component, then when I execute this, there'll be a segment Unity crashes. It's the equivalent of a segmentation fault because this won't have a reference. This won't be pointing anywhere because it wasn't able to set it. So I guess if I'm really paranoid, I could say if entity is not equal to null, then do this. And even if entity is null, at least this won't crash the system. It just selection won't work for that entity. How's that? Okay, so that should work. Now, I'm not sure I like this color. So I'm going to look at the material for it and try some other color. Oh, no, 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 that's too much. No, that's too bright, too bright. Let's go. Oh, not blue enough. Not bluey. Maybe more gray. No, too light. Let's go. Let's go with that one. I just wanted to show you how to change this if you did want to change your selection circle color. All right, we've got this. Now, let's look at something a little bit simpler. Let's look, well, not simpler. Let's look at mouse selection. Now, the way Rahul did mouse selection with a raycast is one way to do it. Here's another way to do it. And this depends on using something that Unity provides us. It does automatic raycasting and takes care of all the stuff that you have to do in a very, very nice little way. Basically, Unity provides in any mono behavior something called, in addition to start and awake and update, on mouse down, which returns true when you left click your mouse on top of a collider. It returns false otherwise. I mean, it doesn't run otherwise. So if I were to add a collider to this and check for on mouse down running in one of these 3 scripts, then I will be able to tell when I have been clicked on. So let me explain what I mean in a little bit more detail. All right, so I'm going to add, the first thing is you need a collider, because when the mouse is on top of something and clicks, it basically does a raycast and checks if the ray hit any collider. You can have a mesh collider, but we don't need to strictly go by the mesh in this particular case. What we are worried about most here is the ability to select, which means if you click in the vicinity of the ship, you want to select that ship. So what we're going to do is add a collider. There are many types of colliders. Where are all the colliders? Let's just search for collider. Right? And you can see there's 2D colliders and there's 3D colliders. We so we could use a circle collider, and we talked about this in class where we can detect circle collisions. It's the fastest, simplest one, but we don't want to deal with 2D. We're 3D. The equivalent would be a sphere collider, but we want to be a little bit more exact. And if you look at the selection circle, there's large areas where if you click, you don't want that thing to be selected, that entity to be selected. So a sphere would cover that in all 3 dimensions. So what we want is actually kind of a rectangle that goes around this. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a box collider. Okay. This box collider has been added to DTG51. You can actually see it if you go in. Right? That little thing is a box collider. It's 1 by 1 by 1. Well, we want it to be a little bit bigger. We want it to be about 40 by 50. And if you go out, you can already begin to see where it is. It's a little rectangle. And in the Z, we want it to be about 100. No, we want it, let's see. No. What's the length of this thing? It's 150, right? It's still not getting the very edge, so let's make it 160. Yeah, I mean, we don't have to be exact, as long as it's a good, not too tight, not too loose boundary. All right, I think that should be good. Okay, once we have a box collider, I'm going to go to this, because we're doing mouse selection, I should put any information, any code that deals with selecting the stuff here. So I'm going to say mouse, on mouse down. That's what I want, right? Yeah. On mouse down, and it fills in everything. And I'm going to say debug.log just to test stuff out. Click. Right? All right. So what should happen if I press play and click on, it's compiling, and click on one of these things, oh well, actually just the DTG51, because that's the only one with a collider, I should get the word click printed out here. All right, so everything compiled. Let me go up, point down, and the box collider is hidden, but it's there, but it's here. You can see it in the scene view, but not in this view, right? But if I click on it, oh yeah, look, you saw the click. So click, 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 yes, good. Click on this, nothing, because it doesn't have a box collider. Excellent. So what I'm going to do is add a box collider to this. Talk about add component, box collider, and the size of this thing should be, what is it? It's about 10 meters. I need to look at it here. All right, maybe 20. 20. Oh, there it is. It's sticking out now. Let's just say 30 by 40 by 40. That's quite a bit. Maybe not 40, maybe 30. And maybe not 30 wide, but 25. Okay, so that's a little bit better. Right? It's tight enough without being too loose. Okay. So now if I save it, do this. If I click on this, click, click, click. Yeah, if I click somewhere else, nothing. Right? If I click on this, click, click. Okay, so that's working. So now what I need is not actually to print this, but what I need is to say something to the selection manager. Selection manager.inst.select this entity, because I know who I clicked on, right? Selected entity is, so I could just set that, but I also need to set the selected entity's index, and I'll need to unselect every other entity. This doesn't work. I mean, this is not the one I want. So I have to create a new, and I'm going to send it which entity was clicked on, because I have that information. My entity was clicked on, this entity. So I'll tell the selection manager that not select next entity, but select entity, and I'll give you the entity to be selected, right? This doesn't exist, so I'm going to comment it out for now. This is what I want, and then I'm going to go to here, and I'm going to talk to the selection manager. Right? Okay. There we go. So what I really want is to call this function. It has to be called from somewhere else, so it has to be public void select entity, and it has an entity 381 as its argument. And what it should do is, well, it should unselect all other entities, right? Unselect all. It should set selected entity to the entity that was selected. It should say selected entity dot is selected equals true, right? And what else should it do? Oh yeah, it needs to set. It needs to say selected. If you want to be compatible with tab selection, selected entity index equals something. Well, it needs to be the index of the entity in the list of entities. So let's have a look. List of entities is entity manager .inst .entities, and it needs to find the index. Oh, there is a find index. Excellent. Of this entity in that list. And this is supposed to, oh, this is a filter. So it finds the index of, and it returns an int, right? Okay. So it finds the index of something that satisfies that predicate. So here's a neat trick. Here's a unnamed function. So this will return the index in the list of an item in the list X whose pointer points to the same place as ent, the entity that was passed in here is pointing at. So if the two entities are the same, that is, both pointers are pointing to the same location, it returns true. So this is you could write your own find index, but here's a real simple and perhaps nice way to create a predicate that returns true when its argument, each of the members of this list of entities, is compared with this which is being passed in, and if they're equal and they point to the same location, returns true. So this returns the index in this list of this entity. All right. So now if I go over here and call this, I still want to know if it's being clicked, because I'm not sure my code is correct. So I'm going to check this. So if I call this, it should work. I forgot to save this, so let me go here, save it. Okay, go here. It's compiling. Okay, it's done. Click play. It's cleared. If I click on this, oh my God, this worked. Oh, I'm clicking over here, nothing's happening, nothing's happening, nothing's happening. Oh, if I get close enough, it works. Does it work from other angles and things? If I go over here, click on this, oh yeah. If I really go high and look down on you and click, okay. And if I click elsewhere, no, oh yeah. No, that's close enough. But out here, no. Okay, And then I can I actually, oh yeah, it's working, I'm controlling it. Select this. Okay, I think I am doing quite well. This is pretty cool. Everything worked. Excelente. All right, that's the first part of the tutorial. What I'd like to do also, actually, before I go and do the little UI thingy, is add a couple more entities. I'm going to add entities. I have several things I need to do, but first let me see if I can get the entities. To do that, let's go over here. Let's get the civilian ships package. Download you. All right, it's being downloaded. It's taking a little bit of time. Okay. It's downloaded, so I can import it. It's a package. It's in downloads. All right. It's decompressing it. Okay, yes, get everything. It's got a container, Minesweeper. Oh, it's got a lot of nice stuff. It's got a large container ship. Interesting. But let's start by playing with the tanker, because I happen to like the tanker. So here it is. Here's the prefabs. All I need is the tanker. So to do that, what I need is I'm going to create a little game object to hold my new thing. I'm going to call it tanker. Okay. And then I want to take the tanker from here and put it in here. Right, and there it is. All nicely scaled and everything. Okay, I think I have one level too many of indirection. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this, and I don't want this particular game object in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the tanker and put it inside here. And there it is. Okay. And now to make everything work, I need, what do I need? I need a, what do I have here? Let's see. Okay, I have the camera rig and the decoration. So that's what I need to create. Right. So I'm going to say I need two game objects. Right. One I'm going to call the camera rig, and the other one I'm going to call decorations. Right. And then I'm going to add a selection cylinder to decorations. And this selection cylinder needs to be, okay, first of all, I don't know why it keeps doing that. All right. Is everything at 0, 0, 0? Yes, everything is at 0, 0. Selection cylinder needs to be rather large. Is this 200? No, 200 is too small. Wow, that's a big ship. 300, yeah, that's about right. Okay, 300 by 300 is my selection circle, and it needs to be about 1 up. So, all right, now we got that. And then what I need to do is add my components. I'll start with the box collider because why not? And I need this to be, I think it's about, no, 30 was a destroyer. This is wider, so let's say 50. Can I see it? Yeah, I can barely see the box collider. Let's make it 60. I think I see it sticking out a little bit more. Let's make it 40. All right. Okay, that's not going to cover it all. So let's make it 60. That looks better, and it's 300 meters, so that's big. Okay, that looks a little bit better. That should work well. All right. Okay, so that should be good. Then I need to add entity 381, and it's not selected. Desired acceleration. What was the acceleration for DDG? It was 5, so this will accelerate much slower. We'll just make it 4. And then what were the other properties? 315.4. Okay, 315. 3 was the turn rate, so this should turn slower. I'm going to make it 2. Max speed, we'll give it 20. We'll just say that's 20. I don't want them all to be slow things. So here we go. Entity, okay. Camera rig, yes. I'll put you here. Where is the camera rig? Oh, it's in the middle of the thing. No, that's not where it should be. Let's make this bigger so we can work on this properly. Okay. You need to be higher, right? And at the back, because that's our third person view of everything. So if I click on you, okay, that looks pretty good to me. Right, okay. So what else do I have? I need to add the selector, obviously. And for the selector, it needs a pointer to the selection circle. Right? Anything else do I need to add? Which selection circle did I point to? Yeah, the right one. What else does DG51 have? Oriented physics, of course. I need oriented physics, otherwise there's no physics. Oh, jeez. Oriented physics, okay. And oriented physics, it does its own entity thing, so it should be fine. I'd rather have this up. So I want to move it up. Okay, so entity 381, this is okay. All right, let's see if this works. Oh, no, there's a problem. There's a null reference somewhere. Where is the null reference? Who's referencing null where? Oh, this is not good. It should be like this. In the others, in DDG51 and in the tug, I had already initialized entity. In Tanker, entity for oriented physics is nothing. And this piece of code, there was a bug, so I have to get the entity by getting the component from the parent and then assign it, and then I'll be able to do all this other stuff. Otherwise, there's all kinds of issues that could go wrong, right? Okay, so now what do we need? Let's try and run it again and see what happens. Okay, much better. There's no stuff. This is selectable. This is selectable. This, oh yeah, that's working. Excellent. Let's go high. Come back in. Select. Oh, there's a bug. What is the problem here? So I can do this. Oh, I know what the problem is. The problem is that my entity manager only has 2 entities. It doesn't have the third one. This is a common problem with this kind of stuff. So what do I need? I need to move this here, and it's a link to the thing. So now there's 3. Save it, play to run, and let's see. Right, I'm doing all this because it looks kind of good. All right, all right, All right. Okay, so now I can turn, I can tell you to do stuff, yes, and you to do stuff, and maybe turn the other way. Nicely done. Okay, I think that's what I needed. This looks pretty nice. Oh, this ugly brown stuff. Oh, I know what that is. That's the camera. It's got a far clipping plane, so it can only see 1,000. If I did 10,000, see, now it can see much further. It can see the ocean much further. It looks much better. But if I do 10,000, the frame rate also drops because it has much more to render. So maybe something smaller. Let's say 5,000. Yeah, still okay. Maybe you can go even smaller. 25. Oh, that's too small. Maybe it should be 35. That looks pretty cool. Maybe 45. Yeah, I think that's much better. Okay, so let's leave it at that. So let's stop this. Let's go back to the camera and let's just put 3,000 for now. Yeah, it looks pretty good from this point of view. And there you have it. We have mouse selection. We have selection circles. And we'll worry about the UI. Oh, when we know how to get new entities in, we got this one. And we worry about UIs next in the next part of this